Hello, everyone. Ooh, out of breath. It took me forever to find the book. It was buried under some fabric on my cutting table. But welcome to this episode of Under the Needle Quilts in Italy. It's based on this Kate Facet book. There are 20 different quilt patterns in this book, and we are going to hopefully finish the one we've been working on, which is the stone log cabin. I'll show you a picture of that. This one right here. This is the quilt that we're quilt top we're hopefully going to finish tonight. Whew, that was a mouthful. Now then, let me get this all situated. So if you remember, we stopped at, I think, number 14. This is where we're at. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So I'm going to count them to make sure, so I don't want to miscut anything. And I'm going to swap to another camera, and we're going to get started. Okay, here we go, right here. Now then, I'm going to count from the center out to make sure I'm where I think I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. That is row number 14 right there. So we are going to get started with this beautiful stone log cabin quilt. And since we're now at the longer strips, I have to piece all the strips together. Hi, Mia. Everyone, feel free to leave a comment and say hello. I'll be watching that screen. There is a little bit of a time delay, but when you send a message and when I see it, but I'll answer all and any questions. So, number 15 is next. And that is this one right here. Now this one I had already assembled. I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and sew them all together, so I just have to stitch them onto the main piece, but that kind of defeats the purpose of this, so I stopped on this one. So I've already got these cut, 2 long ones and 2 shorter ones. And I want the 2 shorter ones first, because that will go on the top and the bottom of my quilt top. Let's see here. Get them down. There we go. So number 15 in the book, 55 inches and 63 inches. The cool thing about the book, it tells you exactly how long to cut these strips. And it is extremely accurate, I have to say. So, which one is this? 36. 56. That's the long ones. Okay, we'll save those for the next step. And these should be the 55-inch strips that I've already cut. As you can see, when I piece the strips together, I press the seams open. Right there. Okay. And now, this is a beautiful ombre fabric. Isn't that pretty? It's all in lavender and gray and purples. Okay, so first off, we're going to get started on this. I'll need those. And I'll shut my book until we get to the next set of strips. And I'm going to first start by pinning a corner down. If any of you are interested in that book, you just look down in the description below the video, and there's links to a lot of the products that you see me using. And there's that corner. Then I'm going to go attach the other end to the other corner. Come on, you. That's a long ways down. And then I'm trying to get another pin in the middle if I can stretch it out enough to make it even. There we go. Right there. Now I use that middle pin in that one. That looks good. That looks good. We're good to go. And I'm using a stitch length of 1.8 millimeters. And I'm just using the middle piecing stitch with my digital dual feed foot and the 1/4 inch piecing plate. See where I'm wiggling that? Let me zoom in for a minute here. Right there. That's a 1/4 inch plate. And that's what I'll be using tonight. Okay. Hoo-wee. Hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday weekend. Happy 4th of July. Okay. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Molly. Oh, wonderful, Molly. Well, the first part of this, Molly, was last week, so you'll be able to re-watch these videos as you piece one of these quilt tops. And, oh, hi, Terry. How are y'all this evening? I'm just going to get this strip stitched down, then we'll move to the top, the opposite side of the quilt top. Okay. Got it right there. And on this machine, I do have the laser seam guide on. It has a laser beam that you can adjust to the left or the right of the needle. And that just helps you to line up your fabric along the needle beam so that it goes squarely under the presser foot so you can achieve that perfect 1/4 inch seam. Okay. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Everybody, I'm getting used to a new medication that the doctors have put me on, and boy howdy, it has thrown me for a loop. I'm doing a little bit better than I was a week ago, that's for sure. The great thing about these straight pins I'm using, you can just sew right over them because it's a very fine pin. Okay. Right there's a pin. I have not taken it out. I'm just going to slowly go over it. Then I'll remove it after it's complete, after this whole line, the seam is done. Okay. Oh, I know, Molly. It's hard to find some of them. If you can't find them all, then just substitute a like color in its place. That's what I'm going to have to end up doing as well. Especially that border fabric, that's the hardest one to find. Okay, that line is done. Woohoo! Let's see what that looks like. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Right here's our newest line we just put in. Right there. Now we'll just do that to the opposite end. Okay. So once we get this row on, it'll actually measure 55 by 63 inches. 55 by 63, this is row 15. And there's 20 rows in total going all the way around. Once I can free up some long arm space, I'm actually going to let y'all watch me quilt this in my long arm. That'll be a couple weeks. And listen, everybody, you have plenty of time to find that. If you're wanting to follow along to get the book and the fabric for the zigzag quilt in this book, I'll show you a picture of that a little later, because we will not start that for at least 2 more weeks. I'm still collecting the fabric myself for it. There we go. Okay, now we can sew this one down. I'm going to pump that up to 2.0. Simply because we're going across every seam that we sew, and that anchors it down. On that last row, I will knock that stitch length back down to 1.8. That way, when it's put a little bit of stretch on it, it won't come apart. Okay. Excuse me. As you can see, I'm just guiding the fabric into the foot and letting the feed dogs do all the work. If you see me put my hand behind that foot, it's just to straighten out the fabric. I'm not pulling or tugging on it. You never want to do that because that can cause the needle to deflect and you'll end up breaking a needle in your machine. Excuse me. When I go across one of those seams that I have pressed open, I want to make sure I sew over it with that seam actually open as well and not let it fall to one side. That's to reduce bulk. Right over that pin, easy peasy. Excuse me. Have to give me a drink of my tea here in a minute. Getting on. We're almost down to the end. Okay, take that pin out. Off a little bit then, so I'm just going to go over it one more time to right back here. I angled it off right here on the end by accident, and if that happens, and it'll happen to all of us sooner or later, just go up an inch or two and just stitch right back over it. Here we go. And the biggest thing to make this quilt top fit together perfectly according to the pattern is to maintain an accurate 1/4 inch seam. And the easiest way to do that is to use a 1/4 inch piecing foot. Okay, this is the one that came with this machine. This is just the regular foot, but see, it has a little metal rail here on the right side of it. You butt your fabric up against it, and that allows you to achieve a perfect 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so that's 2. We got 2 more to put on this round. You know, and if we may not get this done tonight, if not, we'll finish it up next Saturday. It's all good. We'll see. See how she goes. Okay. When you're cutting this out, you first start just by cutting out all the strips in its proper width by following, okay, this chart that's in the book right here. This chart tells you, like right there it says round 1. It tells you its fabric ID number, and then it says the log width, number of strips, 1 of each, and there's 4 cuts there. I didn't do it the way it is in the book. What I did, I took log A and log D and cut 2 of each. Then it'll work out just like a regular log cabin block. And it's cool the way this one is done, but if you do it the way it says in the pattern book, you'll have to cut out 4 different size links to sew them around each round around, and I just didn't want to do that. Okay. So, there's that one. I'm going to gently just go down and put a pin in here and there. Important thing is when you're pinning is just not to stretch, okay? Don't stretch it. Just lay it right along the edge and put in a pin. And this actually helps you to control the fabric as you're running it under the presser foots on the machine. Okay. It's my yardstick. I got it ready for the round after this. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Hi. Sarah, I'm feeling better than I did last week or earlier this week, that's for sure. Not 100% yet. But I'm okay. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it very much. Okay. Yeah, we'll do one here in the corner. We'll be ready to sew this strip on. And the only reason I'm not pinning it down both sides before I start, that's a good way to stick yourself with a pin, and I just don't like doing that. I'd rather do them one side at a time. And I also want to make sure, there's a pin I left in it. There we go. And one up here, like I'm going to have to do that better. I can see that right now. What about down here? Yep, didn't take those out either. It's all good. And here, nope, that's the one I'm working on. Yep, that's a good one. That should stay in. Just check my seams for more pins. Everybody, I sew barefooted, and I tell you, I'm really cognitive of where I have the pins around me so I don't step on one. There we go. Now then, go to my next pin and just hold on to it. Pull it towards me. Back up a little bit, you can see what I'm doing here. There we go. Here's the first pin from where I pinned. I'm just going to pull it back like this and line up the edges and guide it in. keeping that one finger right there, I keep really good control on my fabric. And it helps keep it lined up, of course. You give me a drink of my tea. I forgot about that. I make sugar-free crystal light tea. That's what I have in my water bottle. There we go. I will say this, whenever you're piecing, whatever quilt top you're going to piece, it's always beneficial to have all of your pieces cut to size before you sit down at a machine. And you'll see that reason why here when I finish this round. Because it's much easier to measure and cut long strips when you're at your cutting station instead of while sitting in front of your sewing machine trying to do it. Quite honestly, whichever way would work the best for you is what you should do. And you can do it either way. I just personally find it's faster by standing up at a table with a rotary cutter and a ruler, cutting everything to size, than trying to cut them as I go. I'm cutting them as I go on this one. The next quilt top we do out of this book, I'm going to show you how to cut it. We'll probably spend the first session doing nothing but cutting fabric. Hi, Sandra. Sandra, I pretty much use a size 90-14. Specific for binding, I always use a 90-14, and depending on my thread, I might use an 80-12 for piecing. And you just want to use a top stitch needle for piecing, or a quilting needle, and vice versa. A top stitch needle or a quilting needle is good if you're going to do some free motion quilting as well. You can actually even use a universal needle, because that will go, this is cotton fabric is considered woven fabric. And for that you need a sharper end. But if you sew knit, if you mix sewing knit, if you sew a lot of knits and a lot of cotton fabric, your best choice would be to buy universal needles, because that will sew both types of fabric. And we're coming on the end of this row. I'm going to pay attention and not move my seam out so I don't have to sew over it again. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Sandra. And I use Class A needles. They're a wonderful needle. I use it for embroidery, quilting, everything. The only thing I can't use that in is my long arm, because it requires a different type of needle. Move this out of my way for the time. There we go. Okay. There's that other side I need. Got one more side to do on this round. Where did you go? Let's see here. There it is. Okay. There it is. And we got one more to go right here. And we're going to pre-pin that seam down. Alrighty. I tell you, the fireworks started around the neighborhood 2 days ago. Everyone in this town that we live in is ready for the fireworks, that's for sure. I really have to watch little Puffin. It just, those noises, you know, those hurt our little fur baby's ears. So I just try to keep the TV on or something to help muffle the sound of them. That's how we cope with it. He's in here right now on his little couch asleep, snoring. Very lightly snoring. There we go. And see how I did that? It lined up perfectly all the way to the very end. I have used some quilt patterns that I bought where that doesn't happen, and that's really aggravating. So I can totally attest to the patterns in this book. They are extremely accurate. Okay. And once again, everybody, there's a little bit of a time delay when you type in a question and when I see it, and that's why I don't always immediately answer a question, but I will answer each and every question that y'all ask. Okay. Yeah, we'll just feed that one through. And I'm not pressing every step of the way on this quilt top. The next one we do, the zigzag quilt, that will require pressing every step of the way, just so you know. Make sure you have an iron and a pressing mat or an ironing board close by, because you're going to need it on that next quilt. Here's my needle, next needle right here. Okay. Oh, by the way, I am sewing on my Baby Lock Altair this evening. You can use any machine that'll give you all we're doing are straight stitches, so you could even use a Singer featherweight if you wanted to. How many of y'all watching do you have a Singer featherweight? Those of you that, if you're a quilter, you might have one. Oops, it's a vintage machine. They're pretty cool. I have one myself. There's just something kind of cool about using an antique machine. Hi, Marcia. Terry, you have 3. Oh, I'm so jealous. Aren't you? Look at you, girl. Aren't they awesome? You know, you can usually find them, but finding them for a good price is a whole nother story. Oh, wonderful. 2301s. How awesome. I have some other ones other than the featherweight as well, some old singers, some of the old black ones with all the gold decals. They are pretty to look. Even if you don't sew on them, they are so pretty to look at. Okay, that round is now complete. Oh my goodness. Let's have a look at it. There we go. And y'all, is this getting too big for me to fit on the camera? I'm going to back it up a little bit, back myself up, but there we go. Oh, get over there. You can see it now. Oops, there's a pin I need to take out. Oops, let me get my pins out. I got excited to show this. Okay, they're all out now. But right here, this is the center of the quilt. Right here that I'm holding with my thumb. That's the center. And it's a rectangle, it's not square. Okay, so next, let's get the book out. And have a look at the book. I just had a scrap piece of my fabric in here as a bookmark. That's the way it's easy to get to. So that was round 15. There's only 5 more rounds to go, everybody. So, it is this one, right here. This is kind of a coordinating fabric. It's repeated 1, 2, 3 times, and it kind of pulls it all together. It's a black and white striped fabric. This is Cape also. And you can see right here, right there's one round, and there's a round right around the very center of it as well. Okay, so that's our next subject right there. And this time we need, now I'm going to have to piece these together to make the longer strips. Oh, Sarah, aren't you lucky? 59 inches and 66. Well, first I'm going to have to piece the strips together. So 59 and 66. So 2, 1, 2. So I can do 2 together 4 times, which I only got 7 strips. Let me think here a sec. You know what? I'm going to piece them all together in one long strip and then cut the lengths that I need. That way, oh, hello, Jay. Oh, thank you, Jay. I wish I could take credit for it, but I just followed the picture in the book for the fabric. That's all I had to do. All those fabrics have like a, I'm going to call it a serial number, but it's an item number. And it just makes it easy to actually have it come out that way. These are all really busy prints, most of Kaf's are. And all you'd have to do, honestly, you could substitute any of his fabrics for it, as long as they're in the same colorway as the book. For instance, one fabric might say BK70BL or whatever, and it might say Serenade Blue. What, I'm just making that name up. There is actually one of the fabrics called Serenade. But if there's colorways, if you can't find the one that says blue, buy one of the other prints that say blue, and it'll work out just fine. Okay. Ooh, I hope that made sense. So we're going to do another one. I'm just going to sew all of these strips together. If you're getting ready to piece one of these, this is what you'd have to do. Or this is what you would need to do anyway. closer in here. Oops, wrong way. There we go. When you start stitching on one of these machines, or any machine as far as that goes, it's always a good practice to always start a seam with fabric under the needle. So when you place that quarter up under that needle, you don't want to take the first 1 or 2 stitches with no fabric under it, because chances are your needle will come unthreaded. Okay, there's all of that. Now I'm going to get out my handy dandy yardstick. Yes, it is from Menards, which is a home improvement center. And it's a 36-inch stick, and my measurements are 2 at 59 and 2 at 66. So I'm going to cut my long ones first. That's just how I like to do it. You could do it the opposite way. 66. So this would be 36. Okay. 66 inches. Now I want to do this twice. I'm going to put a pin right here. Let me back that camera up a little bit. There we go. So right there where I'm putting my pin is the end of the yardstick. That's where the 36-inch mark is. Then I'm going to bring it down to the other end where it says number 1. Line that up on the edge. And then I'm going to bring this down, let's see, 66. 36 minus, so you need to cut it at 30, put a pin in at 30 inches, which would equal 66. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Now I'm going to cut it. And yes, you could use a rotary cutter and a ruler, but as long as the strips aren't super wide, that last pin is my fold line, okay? Line up, get a hold of the pin and line up both raw edges. And as long as those raw edges are lined up with that and the fold line is made at the top, you'll get a nice square cut. Okay, check it out. Insert it, open them up nice and wide, and then snip it really fast. Keep your fingers out of the way. Our scissors are always very sharp. And there's one of my 66-inch strips. So I have to cut another one. Excuse me. Okay. Yes, Molly, I will show you how to do that. I will use a ruler with a 60-degree mark on the ruler. Or you could buy a ruler with the 60-degree mark. I will show you how to do that. If you're going to cut out that template, you can go to a shop and buy template plastic to cut it out. But I always just look at a ruler and use a ruler to do it. If you have AccuQuilt, you could cut part of that out with AccuQuilt as well. Many ways to do it. Okay. But we will spend one whole Saturday on cutting out fabric. Okay. But most quilting rulers have both a 45-degree line on them. Now I'm talking like a 6 by 24-inch ruler. They'll have a 45-degree line and a 60-degree line. About what, 30? Oops, hold on. I almost cut off 72 inches. I just want to cut off 66. Let me put this one on my 30 inch mark right there. Here we go. Put that off to the side, pull out this other pin. What I was saying though, most quilting rulers, and if yours doesn't have it, I know you can find one that does have it, would be a 60-degree ruler. And let's see here. I have to go, during my break, I will go pull a few rulers in to show you what I'm talking about, okay? There are specialty rulers out there that will exactly cut those shapes. And sometimes those will make the cutting process a whole lot easier. You can cut those pattern pieces out of like poster board and then use the edges to lay a ruler right down on top of the edges of that piece to cut out those pieces. There's several ways to do it, and I'll go over that in detail when we start making that quilt. Okay, there's two. Now I need two at 59 inches. Okay. Let's see if I have enough. I do have a little bit extra of this because in my kit, I bought this as a quilt kit at a quilt show about 4 or 5 years ago. Never had made it. And imagine that, right? And whoever cut the fabric for that kit cut this fabric here for the binding. You could honestly use any of the fabric in this quilt to to make your binding. I would say pick out your favorite fabric, excuse me, for any of the quilts that we make, and use that as your binding. Okay, there we go. Now there is our fold. That will be my first one at 59. Get that folded, then I'll remove my pin out. There we go. And yes, Sarah, you could quilt one of these on your Altair or whichever machine you have that has IQ Designer. You could totally quilt it in the hoop. Just remember, you're going to have all that bulk underneath the machine. Guess what, folks? That's not 59 inches, is it? So I'll be right back. I've got to cut another strip of this. Boy howdy. Let's see here. Let me go over here to the bag that has the rest of the fabric in it. Where is that? Where are you? Right over here. Hey, Bubby. Hey, Buffy, Bubby. Okay. Okay. So there's my rest of my fabric I'm going to have for this. I thought I had another strip of that. See, here's the excess fabric I had left over out after cutting everything. Do I have any more of this? Those are too big. Those are too big. So I'm just going to cut another strip. How wide is that? 2 inches. Okay, I'm going to go to the other room, everybody. I'm going to put the intermission sign on. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I have to go cut another strip off of this fabric here. Oh, Molly? Yeah, Molly, I will go look at my dies. I don't want to give you an answer without being correct on that, but I will give you an answer on that after I actually measure the templates in the book. Okay. Going to intermission for 5 minutes. Okay, everybody, I went and cut another strip. Now I'm going to sew it to my other one and swap back to the other camera. So, Molly, once again, I will see which one of the those strip cutting dies. You can actually cut those 60-degree diamonds or 45-degree diamonds with one of the strip cutters as long as it is the correct cutting width. And I have to look at that to see if that will work or not. Hopefully it will. It would make life a whole lot easier. But if not, we can use just a regular rotary cutting ruler to cut that. Okay. So there's that. And by all means, in the past, years ago, did I cut that wrong? Hold on. Nope, that's right. I thought I'd sewed one wrong side to one right side. But in the past, I have used any thin piece of plastic, think like a coffee can lid. If it's large enough for the pattern piece, you could use that to mark with, not to use as a rotary cutting template, because it's going to start shaving it off and it will not be as accurate as time goes on. Okay, so that's a seam right there. Oh, this is just the first one. That's fine. Right here, get you down there, right there. That's 36 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it at 36 and 24 is 59. Because this last strip is going to be 59 inches, so it'll be at the 24 mark, right there. Look at that again. I think it's right there. Yep, that's it. That's 24, so that's 59 inches from that one end. And now I'll trim that. We're done with this for right now. Set that off to the side. Trim it, line up the raw edges. I'm going to fold it at the pin and line up both sides of the raw edges like so, here and here. If you're going to do this at the machine, this is almost how you'd have to do this. If you have a cutting table, it makes this process a whole lot easier if you just pre-cut them all. Okay, that's a leftover strip. And now we're ready to add some more strips to our quilt top. Okay. Excuse me. Alrighty, so we're going to add strips to the top and bottom first. And the reason you want to do that, if you don't, the strips won't line up. They won't be long enough going around. Okay. Here's that one. Come on, you. Get on there. There we go. And we'll put one in there. Oh, yes. Hold on. 23. 36. Oh, I cut it 1 inch. I'm not. Thank you, Terry. I'm going to have to cut that off. So I cut them at 24, which means it should have been at 23. So I'm just going to cut 1 inch off of this. Oh, my goodness. I'm such a goober sometimes. Alrighty, so I'm going to put a pin in at the 1 inch mark. I looked over at the chat screen, I saw the number 23. I thought, oh, what does that mean? And then it just dawned on me as I was pinning. Okay, there is 20, that is 1 inch. 1 inch. So you want your strips to be 59 inches. 36 and 23 does equal 59. I am such a goober. Now I got to measure this other one because I think I cut it the same way. Gonna see. Okay. Thank you, Terry. 36. Where did I cut this one at? I bet I did 24. What do you want to bet? Oh, that's 30. That's for the next one, the 66 inch. Okay, that one doesn't count yet. 36 there. Come on, you. Get in there. Okay. 36 there. And then we want 23. That's my other long one. That one's 30. Hold on a minute. 36 and 30 would be, that would be right. That'd be my two 66-inch ones. What's this one? I have got this all confused, everybody. I have confused myself. Woohoo. That's why that's why I didn't have enough. I made one of these way too long. Yeah, they're all cut at 30. Okay, so I'm gonna cut one of them down to 23. And this is the one it's going to be. Okay. $36. See how easy it is to do that? And that can happen when you cut at your machine. If you're on a flat surface measuring, it just comes out so much better. Right there. 23. Right there. Okay. Take that pin out. Give that one a snippy after I line it all up. Come on, you. I may have set it on the 3rd, but that's not where I pinned it, Terry. Ooh-wee. Okay. Get it in there. There we go. And you know what? If one of them is off, I have extra, so I'll just piece it if I have to. But that should have done it right there. Excuse me. Now then, now that these are the proper length, did I cut that one off? Yes. Okay. We are going to line this other corner up. And what I'm doing by pinning it, I'm also doing a test fit. Hopefully, if I had miscut that piece, this is where I shoulda, woulda caught it. But we caught it before we got that far. Perfect. That will be perfect. Okay. As I'm sitting here, I'm already planning my free motion quilting for this one. I'm going to quilt each strip separately. I'm not going to do an edge to edge. I'm going to use half of a feather vein. It's got a lot of feathers on it. Okay, so going to get this one started. Get it arranged so it feeds smoothly. There we go. And this will be 15. I think this is round 17. I think 16 or 17. Yes, this one is 17. I'm sewing down. should just have 3 more different fabrics to go. Let me look at my box. 1, 2, 3, yes. After this one, there's just 3 more rounds to go. Okay. It's one to catch on my yardstick. That yardstick is one to sew with us. I always slow up when I go over the pins. Okay. Ooh, doggies. Okay, there's round one of 4 on this go round. Now you can see how that looks. Oops. Let's get all the pins out before we talk about it, or I'll forget. Come here, you. Okay. There we go. Is that pretty? Very nice. And you know, I know this camera does not do this justice. It really is beautiful. Okay, we'll go on to the other opposite end. Put that under the foot. Oops. There we go. Okay. Now then we're going to pin that end on. See how that looks right there. Okay. So this one's next. The Art Cave's fabric's gorgeous. They're just so awesome. So lovely. I also like Tula Pink fabric, and honestly, if a person wanted to, I think you could mix the 2 fabrics together if you were so inclined to do so. They're both colorful, happy fabrics. And I noticed some of the colors in this would totally go with some Tula fabric as well. Excuse me. And I'm going to pin down that corner. Perfect fit. Love it when it works out like that. It makes life so much easier and funner and more stress-free and all that fun stuff. Okay, let's get that one sewn in. Okay. For those of you just tuning in, feel free to ask a question in the comments. I will answer each and every one of you. All I ask is that we keep it clean. And for those of you that have watched some of my recorded videos, I do approve each and every comment that you see, because there are some scammers on here as well that like to post different things with links to websites and all that fun stuff, and I just delete those. All I can say is, if you want to promote your website, start your channel and promote it that way. That's the best way to do that. Okay. Ooh-wee. There. That rose put on. Alrighty. Now we'll go to, let's see, we have the two long sides to do next. Removing the pins so I don't get stuck. Been there, done that, not fun. I tried to make a song out of it, as you can tell. I will never have a job in Nashville, that's for sure. Okay. Now we're going to put one of the long ones on. And if I cut these properly, they should be a perfect fit. We're about to find out, aren't we? Okay. Now I'm going to undo this because, you know, I said when you get to the longer ones, you have to piece them. Well, if I go ahead and do that, right there are two seams that would almost exactly line up, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to flip it to the other end and start pinning again. I just don't want two seams lining up right on top of each other. That'd be too much bulk. Regardless of whether you quilted in a long arm or an embroidery hoop, or just with free motion on your domestic machine, or using a walking foot to quilt with, it's never a good thing when you have too much bulk that you're trying to quilt over. Okay. I'm not stretching this fabric, I'm just lining it up along the edge and matching up the edges. That's all I'm doing. And if I did this correctly, and I didn't pin that ending corner this time, and we're just going to see just how accurate I pinned and cut. Looky there. Lines up perfectly. Woohoo. Does not get any better than that, everyone. So this is where we're going to start. Okay. And this time I'm going to try to take my pins out as I go because for whatever reason, I'm forgetting to take them out. So this time I'm just going to take them out as I go. It's all good. This thread I'm using is a 40 weight Madeira Arrow quilt thread, 100% polyester. I'm using it in both the upper thread and in the bobbin. Take that one out. There we go. Excuse me, everybody. That pin. And that one's done. Got one more to go for this round. Check it out. There's where it's at. Okay. We only have one edge that doesn't have that fabric on that we're attaching. So I'm gonna preemptively look where there are seams, and I don't match a seam. So that would work right there really well. I just don't want to stack one seam on top of one another on these long strips. And just to reduce the bulk. Oh, thank you, Jackie. My voice cracked. Thank you, Jackie. Let me get me a drink of tea. After we get this strip sewn on, we only have 3 more. We're going to count them. But I'm pretty sure that this is round 17, which means we only have, I just unthreaded my needle, but that's okay. I think after this round, I'm pretty sure we just have 3 more rounds to finish this quilt top. Now, if you wanted to make this quilt top larger, all you would have to do is you could add a wider border all the way around it. Or if you have enough extra of this fabric, you could put a few more rounds going out just to get it to the size that you want it. You could totally turn this into a king size quilt top just by adding more strips all the way around the edges, just like we're doing right now. Because I actually thought of maybe adding a 6-inch border around it, but I'm going to keep this one true to the pattern. Oops, looky there. That seam come undone. I'm going to have to sew this back together. Oops. Did you ever have that happen to you? So, just going to stitch that back down. Okay. I've had this happen to me when I'm quilting in the long arm for a customer. And when that happens, sometimes I just have to do it by hand. Simply because there's no way to get it out of the frame to do that. Oops. Forgot to press the threading button. Imagine that. There we go. Now it's threaded. Okay. Let's see here. Do. There. Okay. That'll do it. Pretty sure. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, now it's all nice and sewn in. Now we can continue our pinning process. And you know, everybody, I know I could have filmed this all ahead of time and edited it out so it was a super short video. But on these videos I'm doing live, I just want everyone to, if you have never done this before, I think it's beneficial that you just see the entire process from start to finish. And that's why I'm doing it like this. Plus, it's a great way you can ask questions and we can chit-chat. Hold on. Yes, I will. Here, I'll just show you that right now. I can wind it back up. That's a 3,000 yard cone, and it says Madeira. And here it says in small letters, which this will never pick up, I'm sure. Hold on. Maybe it will. Here we go. Madeira Arrow Quilt. And this one is actually color number 9601. When I'm piecing, I like to use a variegated thread. I just like variegated thread anyway. But specifically when I'm piecing, and especially a quilt that's really colorful like this, excuse me, dadgummit, it actually will. If you were able to pull it apart, which you can't, the first part of this I pieced with just a white thread, but it was that arrow quilt thread. You can pick that up. Any baby lock retailer can get, if they don't have it in stock, they can order it for you. Okay. Since we moved our website to another host, I haven't had time to work on it, but we do carry it here in our little shop as well. And I really like it. I use it in my long arm. I use it in my sewing machine. I've even used it for embroidery, and if you're looking for a real vintage look, without a high gloss thread, this actually embroideries up beautifully. I'm going to take these out as I go again. I kind of like how that worked out. Ouch, that pin got me. The one off camera that you can't see. Excuse me. Okay. And when I'm sewing like this, I never watch the needle of the machine. That will cause you to make a big seam or a little seam when you're guiding fabric. I always look at my seam guide and just line up the fabric with it. Because when you do that, you just have to trust it. You will make a perfect 1/4 inch seam that way each and every time. And that's the real trick to piecing a quilt top, is having a super consistent seam line. That 1/4 inch seam, that's why it's so important that it's accurate, because the whole mathematical formula to make the quilt top fit together is based on that. Okay. Wonderful, Jackie. I'm glad that helps. Oh, thank you, Terry. Thanks to you too. It's this new medication I'm on, everybody. It has been a struggle to get accustomed to it, but I will tell you, I have lost 11 pounds in 2 weeks. But it is super pricey, let me tell you. Oh my goodness. If I didn't have insurance, I wouldn't be able to afford it. That's all I can say. Yes, Jackie, actually, I also use this method to lengthen strips. Maybe you have a fabric that you want to cut a border out of, but you don't have enough yardage to make it all one piece. You can lengthen border strips the same way. Oops, almost forgot to take that one off. The medication I'm taking that I'm talking about, it's not for weight loss, it's actually for diabetes. The weight loss just happens to be one of the side effects, among other things. Okay, there's that one done. Now that round is completely done. Yeehaw! Okay, so let's count this out and make sure we're where I think we are. There's the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There must have been an extra set of strips in there I didn't realize. Hold on. Let me check this out here. Yeah, there is. So we have 4 more rounds to go through. And what I did, as I was cutting all my strips, I put number 20 on the bottom and then just laid my cut strips crossways on top, and then I just was able to pull it off the top of it. United, you sew the binding strips the same way. Actually, no, I do not attach my binding strips together this way. I attach them at a 45-degree angle on my binding. In my video catalog, I have a 3-part video that tells you all about how to attach binding, and it was on this Altair machine. It applies to any machine, though, of how to actually do that. Okay, so now we have to sew some more strips together. This one is next. It's a beautiful electric blue purple background fabric. I really like that one. It's really pretty. This is called Fern. I remember the name of this one. This one is called by Kaif. It's Fern, F-E-R-N. And this comes, I think, in 3 or 4 different colorways. Okay. So, and you know what, everybody? On this one, I'm going to miter these together just so that you all can see how that is done. Since we're talking about that, I'm going to miter all of this together. So, regardless of the width of the strip, it doesn't matter. And this fabric, since it's busy like that, you're never going to see the joins anyway. So there's one, right sides together. And see how I've laid that there? I'm going to get closer. See how I've laid that on top of each other? Just like you're making a square corner right there like that. I want to overlay it enough that I cut the selvages off. Okay? Then I'm going to sew it from this point to this point. So where those 2 fabrics cross right there, that's going to be my starting point, and I'll bring the needle out right here on this ending point. Okay. So let me see if I can do this with this foot. I'm going to set my guide beam back to center needle position because I can use that to line these corners up with. We'll see how this one goes. I may have to change my foot plate. No, it'll be okay. Now that laser beam is actually coming out at that bottom corner where the 2 lines cross like this. It's coming out right here. Oops, right here. Strip of fabric, strip of fabric. They cross, and at the bottom where I'm at now, they'll come out right where those 2 fabrics intersect. Okay, let's have a look at that. And there they are, perfectly mitered together. Then, and I'm going to do this whole strip this way. Then I'm just going to eyeball it and cut it approximately a 1/4 inch away from the seam line and just trim the excess fabric off. Okay, and there we go. Now there's my seam. Easy peasy, easy peasy. This is how I put my strips together for binding. Okay, let's do another one. Right now we are mitering these strips together. Cross them. See that? There's that strip. Back it up just a hair. We'll lay it right there like that. Then where that intersection of fabric is my beginning point, this intersection of fabric is my ending point. Beginning at the top, ending at the bottom. Then you just rotate it, line it up under the needle. If you're really doing this, if you're more comfortable, you could, with chalk or a marking pen, you can draw that line from corner to corner. Just put a straight pin in it right here, and then just stitch it right down from intersection to intersection. Okay. And then we're going to trim it about a 1/4 inch away from the seam. Here we go. Approximately, does not have to be perfect. No one is ever going to see this seam but you. And once again, when you open it up, you have a wonderfully mitered strip. That's how easy it looks. Really complicated when you see it, but truly it's not. Dadgummit. Let me get me a drink of my tea. We're going to line it all up. We're going to cross them. And when you do this, you want to make sure the selvage, it goes a little bit inside the selvages of the edge of the fabric. And then we're just going to go from one intersection of fabric to the other one. Right there. Cut our thread. Going to trim it with approximately a 1/4 inch trim from the seam line. And then in the real world, if I was not doing this on camera, I go over to the ironing board and press this seam open. Okay? Just press it open. Okay. And another one. Beginning intersection, ending intersection of fabrics where they cross. And then once you get comfortable with it, you don't have to stop between each one. You can just chain them together. Here we go. Y'all, when I'm doing this for binding, this is how I do it. I just chain it, do all the seams at one time and chain it together. No, Molly, we'll be going over that in a future episode. Because you actually use an quilt strip cutting die, but you have to measure that pattern piece from top to bottom to get the right width. If that doesn't work, then we'll have to cut it with a rotary cutter and a ruler. So we'll see about that once we get closer to it. We'll talk about that more in depth next week, because we're not starting it next week. I'm still getting my fabric for it as well. Okay. That's all of the strips. Now I'm going to cut it. Then I'm just going to cut my strips apart and trim my seam line down as I go. Here we go. There's one. Snip my connecting thread. It's called chain piecing. It's okay, Bobo. The fireworks are starting to go off everybody again. Just the neighborhood fireworks, of course. It's okay, Bobo. You're okay. Yes, who's a good boy? See there? There. That's got one more right here to do. And then we'll be ready to measure and cut these strips for round 17. Yes, this one we're working right now. This is round 17. We just finished round number 16. Okay. I think that is now all done. And we're ready to measure and trim. Yay. Okay. And these are the things that we trim off when I'm doing the miter. I never throw these away. I'll figure out something to do with this. So if you're doing that, hold on to those. At some point in the future, I will show you what to do with them. Right now, you just need to gather up a bunch of them. So I'm going to trim off my selvage. It's usually about 1/2 inch of fabric. On this end, you can see a bunch of little holes in it, and that tells you it's a selvage. Okay. Bring my handy dandy yardstick over. Okay. And earlier I touched, now I'm gonna move this back out for my 1/4 inch seam, and then I'm gonna touch the lock button. Okay, on my sewing machine. Now when I touch the screen, it won't do anything. You didn't hear any beeps there. Okay. Let's look at the book. Round 17. Woohoo. Okay. 62 inches and 70 inches. 2 at 62 and 2 at 70. So I'm going to do my 70s first. I don't have any extra fabric of this, so I'm here's hoping there's enough. Putting in a pin at the 1 inch mark, at the 36 inch mark. I'm going to come up, let's see, 62, right? Let me look again. I'm going to have to focus on this for a moment, everybody. 17, 62, and 70. So, 70, 34, and 36 would be 70. So my second pin, I'm going to drop at 34 inches. Okay? It's right there. And right there. And I'm going to drop this pin right in the 34 inch mark. That way I have 70 inches in total. Okay. There we go. Give that one a snip. And there's one of my 70 inch strips. Right there. It's my longer ones. Oops, there's 70. Let me put my book here to the side. Now I need to do a second one at the same size. Yes, Mia, it really depends on the quilt pattern. When you're doing borders or strips, absolutely. However, you don't have to. There's no sewing police that would come by and say you're doing it wrong. On log cabin, any log cabin based pattern, I normally don't press them open. However, on this one I did. Just because the strips are super long. Let's see there at 36 is where the first one goes. And then the second pin will drop on 34. But yes, it is good. It is a wonderful if you're, as long as you're not going. Here's the rule: as long as you're not going to quilt it in the ditch, press your seams open. If you're not going to stitch in the ditch, if you're going to stitch in the ditch in the quilting, press them to one side. That's the easiest way for me to explain that. Because if you have your seams pressed open and you quilt in the ditch, that means right in the seam, you're going to be stitched, you're not going to hardly stitch through any fabric, quilt through any fabric, you're going to be quilting through the stitching itself. I hope that made sense. If you're doing an edge to edge or anything that is not stitch in the ditch, press your seams open. That's as simplest as I can make that one. Okay, there's my 270s. Now I need two more. Two at 62. Okay. So 62, 36 and 62. 24 would be 60, 26, 26. 36 and 26 would be 62, I think. Oh, wonderful, Vanessa. What's nice to know, there are still some quilt kits out there for this. What, you must have bought that at a shop, I would assume. Is there a quilt shop close to you? And by the way, hi Vanessa. Okay, so 36 and 26 would be 62. (36) and 26. So I have this pin at 26. Here we go. 26 is right there. Okay. I'll take that pin back out. This is where I'm going to snippy snip. Yes, I'm going to have enough. Yay. I just looked. I don't know what I would have done. I'd have had to ordered fabric. I've had that happen on some kits. It's not fun, especially if it's an older kit. Okay, there's my first one at 62. And one more at 62 inches, and this one will be ready to stitch down. Okay, here's 36. And then 26 past that pin would be 62. There, 26, right in between my two fingers here. Come on, you. Here we go. Alrighty. is folding this in half and cutting on the folds so I get the proper length for this log. That's what they call in a log cabin pattern. In a log cabin pattern. My goodness, that was a mouthful. In a log cabin pattern, each round that you go around the center patch is called a log, hence the word log cabin. There's my leftover piece. Of course, I save those as well, right? Trim that just a little bit. There, now it's square. Okay. So, now just like before, we're going to pin our log down, then we're going to stitch it down. Let's see here on the chat window. Oh, wonderful, Vanessa. Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. It doesn't have to exactly match the fabric in the book, everybody. All of his fabric plays nice with each other. And you just won't be able to go wrong. As for instance, on that zigzag quilt, I don't think I'm going to be able to find the right zigzag fabric for that border. So I'm looking at one that's like these really big purpley magenta flowers. And I think that's what I'm going to put on mine. Next week, I will share a computer screen with you. And we will actually look at stuff like that. I'm going to show you how to shop for the individual fabrics on that book. Okay? And then I will make some suggestions. Well, no. You'll just be able to, you can take that book to any fabric store, and if they have a lot of fabric, they might actually have that fabric still in stock. It's not like they never print it anymore, but the way the supply chain stuff is working, fabric especially, it takes forever for it to come into a shop. Okay. Come here, Mr. Straight Pin. Here we go. Ooh, and them sides get long. You really have to handle them. It takes my arm's getting sore, actually. That's a lot of length. I have made super large king size quilts before, and oh my gosh, those things are a workout, let me tell you. Okay. Ooh-wee. Perfect. Love it when they match up perfectly. So there's my last pin in the bottom corner. And there's that second one. Look at that. See how they just perfectly line up? That's how accurate the patterns are in that book. And there's lots of fun quilts in there to make. I'm looking forward to making them all with you. Okay. So oh, yes, quilt. Yes, Jackie, it's a big quilt. The one I made us for Christmas last year out of Tula Pink fabric. It measured 100 by 100, I think. It was pretty big. It gave me a workout, that's for sure. Okay. Let's get this edge sewn down here. Get it positioned so it just feeds right on through. And like I think I said it last week, those of you that have a serger, this is a perfect example of a quilt top that'd be perfect to piece on a serger. And one reason I like to piece a quilt top on a serger is this. Okay, hold on here. It finishes the edges and they don't unravel. Okay, so Jackie, my cutting table, Mike built me my cutting table this year, measures 4 feet by 8 feet. I don't have a big enough table to lay a king-size quilt out flat, but it sure does make it easier to trim one when you have a large cutting surface. And I'm just finger pressing my seams open. If I was not on camera, I would press the seams open. But since I'm not going to quilt this in the ditch, I already know how I'm going to quilt it. Yeah, I really don't have to press the seams open on this one, unless I just want to. Can't see it, but right down here I have a magnetic pin cushion. So when you see me drag a pin off the table, it's not going in the floor, it's going on that magnetic pin cushion. You all straightened up and ready to go. Okay, and take you out. And that one's on. Okay, let's see what that's going to look like. Ooh, I like that one on there. It's pretty. Yeah, Vanessa, this would be a great one to do on your serger. Absolutely, Jackie. Oh, you're welcome. Alrighty. Oops, not there. Boy, I almost messed up on that one. It goes to the opposite side, which is this one here. There we go. Now I can pin it down. Okay. I'm just going to lay it out flat, put in another pin. There we go. Go ahead and do my two corners down here at the far corner. Yep, that's going to work out perfectly. Put it right there. Yep. Fits perfectly. Gotta love it. Okay. Now, if my seam line was off, not a full 1/4 inch, believe me, they would not line up perfectly then. Or if I had cut one the wrong length like I did earlier, they're not going to line up. And you know, if you're new to quilting, or you just need to just take a seam and then measure it with a ruler. That's the way you do it. If you're using a machine that has the laser beam and a 1/4 inch, trust me, a 1/4 inch piecing foot, everything will come out perfect. Just can't stress that one enough. Okay. Do. And another one right here. Get that pin out. Ooh-wee. Upper arm workout, everybody. Goodness. Yes, Vanessa, I think it is quite lovely. It almost looks scrap. I know it's not made from scraps, but it has that scrappy feel to it. And it really is gorgeous. Okay. What I just did there, that was my miter seam for my strip. I just opened it up as I sewed over it. Excuse me. Okay. There is that one. Now see, you really can't tell it, but right there is a miter. And just looking at it, unless I pointed it out, or you looked really, really hard, you would never see that. Okay. That was round number 2, log number 2 of round 17. That's what we just did. Yeah, we're going to pin another one down. I'll try to put my fins. I started to say fins like a fish fin. My pins a little further apart on this one. We'll see how that works. Let's try something a little different. Okay. And there. And there. And there. This should just line up perfectly. Let's see if I pinned it correctly. And it does. Perfect fit right to the very end. Okay. Oh, wonderful, Jackie. I'm glad those videos are helping you. It's a lot of fun to piece on a serger. Most quilt tops, unless they're curved, think what double wedding ring or drunkard's path. Anything with straight seams you can piece on a serger. Half square triangles, all of that. And be very accurate as well. And we're off on the next grand adventure. Okay. Grab a hold of that, get her lined up. There. It really helps everybody if you just straighten your quilt top out this way as it's going through. That way it won't try to pull it right or left when you're sewing down that strip. It's okay, Bubby. More fireworks, everybody. Yes, Mia, I am lining up the laser beam with the edge of the fabric to get the 1/4 inch seam. On your screen, you're going to want that laser beam at approximately 10 millimeters. Start in the center position, it is 3.5 millimeters. If you jump it up to 10 millimeters on the Altair now, that's just for the Altair machine. The Solaris is totally different. You will get that 1/4 inch seam. And another way, here on your bobbin cover plate, there's a 1/4 inch seam mark. You can just line that laser up right on top of that 1/4 inch seam mark on the bobbin case cover and end up with your 1/4 inch seam also. Okay. number 3 on round 17. And Mia, that's what I look at as I am sewing. I'm not watching the needle. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Ooh. I'm keeping my fabric lined up along the edges along the laser beam as it's going up to the plate. That way, once it hits that 1/4 inch plate, it'll stay right in place as it goes underneath and the needle goes through the fabric. Snip. And let's see how that one looks. There's a corner. There. Got one more strip to go on this round, but there's strip number 17, a purple fern. And now we'll just go over here to the other side. Let's see here. Where are you at? Other side. Right here. Got it twisted, everybody. Here we go. Okay. Whew. Now we're going to pin this strip down on this last side of the striped fabric. And then round 17 will be complete. Okay. Oh, Sarah, thank you. That's such an... I appreciate that, Sarah. Thank you. Ouch. Okay. Let's get these down. Now, the great thing about the love of... One of the great things about the Love of Knowledge, they cover all machines, which is pretty cool because a lot of the techniques in there you see on one machine will apply to a lot of the other machines as well. But thank you for that's a wonderful compliment. Thank you. I've always liked to teach sewing. Before I did it professionally, I would teach cousins and kids and stuff like that how to sew. And I like seeing young people getting started in sewing because, hey, that's the future. A future sewist, artist, fiber artist. You know, making quilts, it is a form of fiber textile art. If you sew a stitch on a sewing machine or a serger, you're creating art, everybody. I don't know about you, but for the most part, I would much rather have a quilt hanging on my wall than a fancy painting. But that's just me, or a big photograph. There's places for it, of course. Now that one, I'm going to have to adjust that one a little bit. It's not laying perfectly flat like the others did. So we'll take a few pins out. And there we go. Now it's flat. I didn't have it the right distance between one of the pins up this way. Just had to go up about 2 pins, unpin it, and then repin. And now it just lays perfectly flat once again. Okay. So now we're ready to stitch that one out. Down. And hey, this will make round 17 complete. Okay. Here we go. going to do another one after this one. I'll open up that mitered seam with my finger. Come on, you, open up. There we go. Okay. Hey, Popo. Did that firework make you angry? It did. You're a good boy. Yes, who's a good dog? Puffy's a good dog. Okay. Almost down to the end on this one. It's okay, Bobo. Mike's in there cooking dinner. Haven't had dinner yet. And okay, get that pin out. There. I forgot to trim my inch off of that one, everybody. I'm gonna have to trim that one. I did have that one messed up. I know that because it's got a really sharp creased fold line right there. And that's the only way that would have happened. So give that a snippy do, right? Yep. Then I gotta do my little trim job, and then finish sewing that seam. There we go. And now I'm going to stitch that down and finish it. Not like that. Okay. Oh, I'm starting to make boo-boos, everybody. You know what that means, right? I'm probably going to call now. I'm going to try to do one more. Let's see here. It's right here. Okay. That was a big boom somewhere. Okay. And there is round 17, all locked and loaded and complete on our K-facet stone log cabin. Really? Well, everybody, it looks like we have a scammer that is tuned in, trying to put smut on our channel. Says deleted. So with that being said, everybody, I think we're going to call this one a night if we're going to start getting people wanting to post pornographic links on our channel. We're going to call that one a night so I can get this person blocked off. That leaves us 3 rounds for next Saturday night, and we'll have it completed on next Saturday night. I hope everyone has a happy 4th of July. Remember, tomorrow we are going to finish up our bucket hat that we started last Sunday, and that begins at noon tomorrow. Everyone have a wonderful evening. I love each and every one of you, and I will see you very soon. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in.